There we go.
And we are live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wellness Weekend session. And for today, we have the lovely Dr. Carolyn Tan-Chi Pedro. Hi, Doc.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
I am loving your background. I'm so jealous. So we have the pleasure of joining her at the beach today.
Yes, this is part of my detoxification from the city. So
I badly need that. So yeah, thank you for thank you for reminding me that I really need to get out and get some sun. So
we all do, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for a couple of people just to, come in.
Sure.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Dr. Carolyn, she is a general practitioner. She also practices functional medicine, and she's also one of our acupuncturists at Centro Holistico. So if you need to find her, now you know where.
Exactly.
So Doc, I don't want to take too much of your time because I know that you probably want to head back and enjoy fun.
I need to get there to the water,
Exactly.
Salt water.
Work on a tan. So let's get right into it. So I was super excited to get to talk to you today about the idea of detox and detoxing, because I think a lot of people nowadays, because detox kind of became like a trending thing or like a trending word a couple of years back, and I think that a lot of people now misunderstand the word detox. So coming from a functional medicine kind of perspective, what does detox actually mean?
Okay, well, just to put it plainly and kind of simply, our bodies are always detoxifying. Every day, we have several organs in the body that are used to detoxify. And what does that mean? It's basically you're taking in whatever is coming in from the environment, or even whatever's inside your body, and you're transforming it into a process so that you can eliminate it. Because again, in functional medicine, we look at different aspects of the person and different areas of their lives too that will affect their overall well-being. And for example, with detoxification, or that word which has kind of been thrown around here and there, if a person is eating foods, for example, and they're not able to eliminate it properly, then the toxins from those foods will build up in the body, and that's what will make them sick, for example. Or it doesn't even have to just be the foods, it can be what they put on their skin. Because I'll just share with you briefly, so I just kind of go on here with what are our detoxification organs. We have our liver, which is super major, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Our kidneys, our lungs, our skin, and even our blood-brain barrier. So everything that we eat, everything that we put onto our skin, everything that we breathe in can all be a source of both good and bad. So our bodies need to be able to find a way to transform that and eliminate it if it's bad, and then keep the nutrients if it's good. Does that make sense? Like, just try to make it simple, in layman's terms, because we start talking about enzymes in phase 1 and phase 2, will be like, what are you talking about?
So from what I kind of got from what you were explaining, it could be something as simple as what we eat. So let's say if I love to eat, let's say, a lot of fast food, a lot of oily food, all that stuff would lead to like junk in my body that needs to be taken out eventually. But it can also be something as simple as like living in the city. So like I can see, like right now you're at the beach. I'm stuck in the city. So I really need to detox because I've been here for way too long.
Yes, I think because air pollutants, that's part of what toxins can enter our body. The quality of the water that we're drinking is also equally important. So everything around us can actually be a source of these toxins. And actually, it can be very discouraging when you think about, all of these things are so toxic. Why aren't we all dead yet? And that's because God created the bodies to detoxify. That's exactly what it is. And so we have our liver, for example, which goes through two very important phases. And usually, if, let's say you're talking about fast food, right? You're talking
Yes.
about fast food, and you're saying like you'll eat a really fatty meal or fast food meal. And what happens is when the body gets that type of food, it will upregulate a certain mechanism in the liver that will just cause it to become more, let's say, oxidized. It will. I'm sure people have heard of the word of free radicals. So they'll create some free radicals, and then you have the second part of the liver, which needs all sorts of nutrients to be able to neutralize that reactive species, for example, and then eliminate it in your urine and in your bile. And so that's the importance of our detox system. And if it's not in balance, we become so toxic. Literally, you'll become a toxic person, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally as well, because it'll affect your whole being. So
yeah. It really is a 360. It's so holistic. So even if you can be eating like the healthiest things, but then the way you think, you know, you're basically like a very negative person, that level of stress can also affect the way we detox. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. And stress is also a big part of when we're dealing with patients who are toxic. We have to get down to their stressors, the way they buffer stress, because you can't just detoxify. Let's say you can't just detoxify through nutrition. You have to have all the elements of holistic health. So I actually recently just gave a talk on holistic health, and I told the people that, you know what, it's not just physical health, it's emotional, mental, it's spiritual, it's relational, and it's physical. So if you're just detoxing in one area, let's say just with the foods that you're taking, or let's say you're doing juice fasting, but you're in toxic relationships, you're not sleeping at night, you're you're not even hydrating well. So all of these things will play a role, and you won't be able to actually detoxify properly. And if you're, there's another thing too that talks about if your gut is not healthy and then you try to detox, you're going to release all of the toxins in your body, literally into your body. It's going to make you sicker. So you have to be able to detoxify properly.
Yeah. So I know that like it goes into the blood, like it gets all the toxins get basically reabsorbed in our blood, according to the last talk I had with Doc Sasa. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that. Oh no, like that should be a form of like detox as well, if you kind of think about it. I'm kind of curious though. So for example, what happens if our body struggles to detox? Like, you know, like I have friends, for example, like we would go out, it's like the peak of summer, they're in a jacket and they just don't sweat, for example.
Right.
Or if somebody like has a fatty liver and like can't, or like, you know, if the liver kind of struggles to help with detox that way, or let's say like if your liver function and your kidneys really aren't 100%, what happens to the body then?
Well, your body is always trying to adapt. It's always trying to find ways to detox. But at a certain point, it really will come to like a, you know, like I give up point. And that's when we get really sick. And that's why some people will get chronic diseases, will get things like cancer, will get things like, you know, just really high levels even of toxins in their blood, like heavy metals, which can affect their brain, which can affect their memory. It can affect how you feel. So a lot of times, if a person is just chronically fatigued, let's say they're just tired all the time, and you're like, you know, you're eating a pretty good diet, but of course that's relative, because we sometimes think we're eating a good diet, but it's not. And you know, then maybe there is really a problem with their elimination system. And so what we'd have to do is we would have to support the organs or the functions of these organs through, one is nutritional foods. So that's why we always say in functional medicine, I'm sure you've heard this with the other talks, that let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We start with food first. And God has made the world in a beautiful way. We just kind of messed it up, you know, along the way. And he has given us a lot of nutrients through the colorful foods that we see in the market that we tend to not eat. You know, we have all the greens, reds, yellows, and blues. And I'm not talking about jelly beans, okay? Not those kinds of colors. and
And
talk
and
about
we hear the
vegetables and
term
fruit.
like eat the rainbow, right? But mostly our food is a lot of shades of yellow and brown.
Yes,
Yellow,
mostly
brown, and
actually like black and white or brown and white, like adobo and rice, right? Or like
mhm.
rice, it's usually white rice with some sort of viand. And then your vegetables like peas, carrots, and corn in the corner.
Yeah,
And like, I'm
exactly.
eating my vegetables. I'm like, that's like
Yeah.
fourth of a serving. And we're actually supposed to be getting, I think, I don't know if this was mentioned um, in what do you call this in the other talks, but that we need about 9 to 12 or at least 6 to 10 servings of vegetables and fruit a day, and it's
Oh, wow.
precisely to support our
Hmm.
detoxification functions and the functions of our cells and all these things. So we really must heal our gut first before we can detox, because if we don't, we're just going to have
Yeah.
lots of issues. As
I love that. Yeah, which leads me to Doc Sasa just mentioned, just heal the gut first prior
that,
to doing detox.
yeah.
What's the importance of like why do that first? Why can't we just like do both?
Well, like we said, whenever you detox, you're going to be releasing the toxins that you're trying to eliminate from your body into your bloodstream or into your, it has to go through phase 1, phase 2 of the liver. And if you don't have enough of the nutrients to support phase 2, which is where it neutralizes the reactive substance that, from, for example, okay, if it's a food, the fast food, and then you're trying to eliminate it, the body will have to create it, make it more reactive first, and then
Okay.
make it less reactive through phase 2. So if you don't have enough nutrients here and you're creating all sorts of reactive species on this side, that's going to go into your body. And that's going to start affecting your cells, your DNA. It's going to start attacking, it's going to be damaging to your cells. Not
Mm,
only that, even if you do have a good detoxification system, but then the gut barrier is leaky, you're going to be
mhm.
leaking these things into your system as well, which will cause even more damage. So that's why we say always heal the gut first, heal the gut, because we don't want any of these toxins leaking into the rest of your system,
Got
causing,
it.
fatigue, pain, or whatever, brain
Yeah.
fog, and all sorts of
Mhm.
issues.
And I think the funny thing is like we've kind of normalized all these like feelings, right? Like, oh, I get a migraine after I eat lunch, like it's totally normal. Or oh,
Yeah.
I get stomach pains like after I drink coffee. It's okay. I'm still gonna drink coffee. I'm used to it already.
Yeah.
Um,
No, pain is not normal. I mean,
yeah.
pain is a sign that something is wrong with the body. And pain is
Mm,
actually, it's like an alarm bell saying, hey, you need to look into why this is happening. And a lot of times we'll just breeze over it and think, well, I have a headache, so I'll just take a paracetamol. Oh, well, paracetamols can also be, I'm not saying I'm not for paracetamols, but for some people who are susceptible and others
yeah.
who don't detoxify properly, it can actually affect your liver and be toxic. So
Hmm.
what do? We have to give, antioxidants, or even things like, we always hear this now in the mainstream, but why do they talk about glutathione? Why do they talk about all these things? It's because
Hmm.
glutathione supports the second phase of your liver, which will help to eliminate the reactive species. So
Yeah.
but it's just one part of the picture. It's not the
Mhm.
only thing. There's so
Mhm.
much
Oh,
more. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say that's actually an interesting topic because a lot of us, the way that we were introduced to glutathione was because of the whitening properties, right?
Yeah,
Like they were
yes.
like, if you should overdose on glutathione,
To
you can get like lighter
whiter
skin.
skin.
Can we talk about that a little bit because it is a little dangerous, right, to become dependent on external, like a pill to get your glutathione.
Well, actually, so glutathione, the reason why you will turn white or you'll get lighter skin is because it is an antioxidant, is because it is upregulating your liver's phase 2 enzyme. So it's trying to help remove the toxins. So it's actually just the side effect. It's not the main effect. Of course,
Yeah.
with marketing and all these things, they'll make it like the main thing because whatever the
Hmm.
people want, right? So,
Yeah.
but of course, with any medication, any supplement, anything that you're putting to your body, again, you want to be able to do it in a proper way, and that it's not just going to be overdosing everything all the time. But Things like, I'll just mention one, N-acetylcysteine, which is the precursor of glutathione, can actually be very, very good for people. You're asking about people who have liver issues.
Yeah.
If you take that, it can help their liver function better, along with a whole host of many other supplements.
Yeah.
So
what we're talking about here is it isn't just, you don't just take a supplement or you don't just take a pill and expect, like your liver function to get better overnight. It really is a process, and it really is very holistic. So Doc,
yes.
what do you do when, like, for example, like most of us live in the city, so we're exposed to pollution, we're exposed to heavy metals, etc. What would you suggest for us to kind of help along our detox naturally?
Okay, well, let me just explain one thing really quick as I jump into that question. We have two things going for us. We are looking at the disease risk from toxins, which is a function of the type of toxin that comes into your body and the cumulative exposure, the dose over time, and your susceptibility as a patient. Because some people have different, they call them polymorphisms, different. Your body will function differently from everyone else. That's why one person can take a certain medication, it will affect them. Or let's say coffee. Some people can take coffee at 7 p.m. at night and they metabolize it so fast they can still sleep. But other people, they can't, right? So all those three will determine if you will eventually get sick. But the other thing that we need to look at is something called a total toxic load. So total toxic load is basically the exposure from everything. It's called exposome, from the outside of your body to the inside of your body that's coming in. And that total toxic load is basically your total toxic exposure minus the ability of your body to biotransform it, so get through those phase 1, phase 2 reactions, and then excrete it into your urine or your bile, which is your poop. And so one thing I tell my patients, or one thing I actually ask them, is how's your stool movement? Because if you're not pooping every day, then you're already going to be more toxic. If you're not hydrating every day, let's say you're not drinking enough water, you're going to be storing the toxins that can be released by water. So water is not the end all be all, because we take in a lot of fat soluble substances that need to be transformed in the liver, but we take in a lot of water soluble toxins that you can actually excrete it through the urine, and you must. So again, so we tell them, what do we tell them? Going back, okay, to the holistic aspect, let's look at first at even things like, how are you sleeping? Did you know that when we sleep well at night, our brain detoxifies? It literally flushes out the toxins in our cerebral spinal fluid. It's amazing. So we're not, and a lot of people don't realize that. And because of the nature of, of the world today, with lights on at night and our screens on beside us, we don't sleep enough. And sleep is one of the most important nodes, or modifiable lifestyle factors that will affect our health. Literally, I've heard one doctor say, if you want to be healthy, you need to sleep properly at the right time, enough hours, quality hours, 7 to 8, before 11 or 10 p.m. And this is really hard for shift workers. This is really hard for most of us. And then also, secondly, you need emotional EQ, like stability. And thirdly, it's not a diet, it's not a fad, it's self-control. And I thought that was brilliant. I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. So what else can we tell people? So your sleep is important. We also talk about exercise, because, again, like we said, one of your detox organs is the skin, and you sweat out a lot of. They did tests on people and their sweat, and it showed different heavy metals that were in the sweat. So if you actually perspire a lot, you will start your body also detoxify those things that are in our body. And, people who don't sweat a lot, people who don't poop regularly, and people who don't drink enough water, are going to be really, really toxic. Can you see where this is going? Like, not removing through your urine, you're not removing through your stool, and you're not removing through your skin. So the other thing too that we also talk about is breathing. We are all such shallow breathers. We don't breathe deep enough. And when we're nervous, we're even more shallow. And we need to be able to inhale and exhale, like different breathing exercises that can help people even get their bodies to more of a like a centeredness, right? And be like detoxify through breathing. But if we're breathing in really bad air, like Manila's solution, that's a problem. So I tell patients, if you can afford it, buy an air purifier and have a really good air purifier in the room that you're going to be spending most of your time, or even at night. In fact, sorry, just to add to that, there was a study done on children who are autistic. In children with autism, they also have a very high toxic load, and sleep is so important. So what they did was they allowed the children for 2 weeks to sleep in a room that had an air purifier that was just cleaning the air and then allowing them to sleep. So they slept better, and in 2 weeks' time, their behaviors improved as well. So there was really a correlation. Yeah. So it was amazing because they did a study on it, and there was a correlation between that, their sleep, their air, and the improvement of their symptoms because their bodies were able to detoxify better. Another, I'm also an acupuncturist, and we do a little bit of Chinese medicine. And even in medicine, they talk about timing of when your body detoxifies. Like the liver, for example, we need to be asleep between 1 and 3 a.m. because that's when your liver is most active. And the kidneys also early in the morning, about 3 to 5 a.m. So again, if we're not sleeping at these times, we're just doing an injustice and to our bodies, and we're hurting ourselves more. So there's the sleep, there's the exercise and movement, and then we also talk about nutrition. And I know all of the doctors who are going to be on this show are going to talk so much about that. But again, the colors of the rainbow, and just putting in a lot of the nutrition that can support the detoxification functions, things like curcumin and things like green tea, resveratrol, and there's just a whole list. Blueberries are one of the most healthy foods, but we can't just pick and choose. It's got to be a whole, like a rainbow, like we talk about, because it's going to be hard to stick to one and say, okay, I'll be detoxing with this, right? And then aside from that, it's also relationships. Oh my goodness. I heard about emotional detoxes. It's so important for our health. So one cancer doctor, he said, cancer is actually, if you put it on a pie, it's 1/3 physical, 1/3 emotional, and 1/3 spiritual. And then he said, well, if you want to be conservative, then it's 50% physical, 50% emotional. And I thought that was really interesting. And he said, so we talk about detoxification a lot with cancer patients, but we really need to detox emotionally. So what does that mean? If you are in a relationship that is just purely negative all the time, that's harmful for your health. That's not helpful. And you need to have people around you, a support group or a community group that can also help you grow as a person, become more of who God wants you to be. One of the things, like even in our church group, we have small groups, and we talk to each other because we need that support. And so relationships are super important in our whole detox journey.
So I love that. I came into this thinking, well, at least my understanding of detox was, like taking the teas and doing the fasting and drinking the juices, because that's what basically what a lot of marketing and media has really taught us. And even going into Central Holistico, I just figured it would be, I'll get a colon cleanse and I'll do an IV drip, and that's the detox, right? But it's good to know that and it's more of a validation for me that it really is holistic, that it just isn't one aspect of our life, that we can't just say, oh, we did a juice cleanse, I detoxed already. There are so many more aspects to it. And it really kind of makes you take a hard look at your life to kind of see where in my life am I toxic?
Yes, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned, those other things. Like you could say, you can do things like a colon cleanse, which is good for detoxifying the gut. You can do an IV drip, which is good for lowering inflammation. And you can even do acupuncture, which helps your body. And all of these things are only a part of the whole detox plan. Like you said, you can't just take that and be like, okay, I'm good because I did these things. But it's part of the whole spectrum of again, the emotional, spiritual, relational, physical, plus
Yeah.
your sleep, nutrition, and the modifiable lifestyle factors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
For sure.
totally holistic.
Okay, I have a
And
very
go ahead.
obvious question, but
Sure.
I think this also kind of needs a little bit of explanation as well. But like, who are the perfect candidates for a detox?
Okay. Well, if you are feeling very tired and fatigued, if you're not, like I mentioned earlier, if you're not doing regular stool movement, these are like physical aspects. If you feel like you're also like people who are anxious and people who have depressive symptoms, they can also be part of that because, again, maybe your body's not releasing the toxins it's supposed to. Maybe your gut is unhealthy. So your gut, your brain, it's all connected.
Mm.
Basically, the whole host of symptoms from, let's see, I'm just trying to think here. Yeah, basically, if you're seeing that your function is just like, let's say you're the type of person that when you get stressed, you're loading yourself with a lot of high carb, even high and low protein diets, and then you're not getting your colors of the rainbow. These are all, and you're under a lot of stress. You even have emotional trauma. These can be candidates for detoxification because for sure you're probably not getting enough nutrients, and you're probably not having enough support for your body to be able to detoxify. So actually, it's not just any, one group of people. We probably all can benefit from some sort of detoxification. Why do you think I'm here in the beach? I need to detoxify from a very stressful, past few weeks. No,
Very
so
stressful past year in general.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to share. So, I actually just had my medical consult with Doc Candy earlier this week.
awesome.
And I was just telling her, like, you know what, like I've been like, I just realized it when I sat down with her because we were like looking through my numbers and stuff like that. And I was like telling her, you know what, I just realized that 2020 was just so stressful for me. I didn't even realize it was that stressful. I thought I was doing fine, but then just sitting down with her, I realized after kind of going through like my symptoms and stuff that I was basically on survival mode for most
Yeah.
of 2020. And what kind of came out for me is like where I wasn't eating that well. Like, I would eat well if I had gone grocery shopping, which would be like every 3 months. And then I'd survive off of takeout basically for the rest of the time because I didn't want to go out. And a lot of my energy I was primarily getting from sugar. So a lot of iced teas, a lot of like chocolates, just like to keep the mood up, etc. So now I'm going into detox. I was like telling her, okay, I need to go on an elimination diet. I need to get rid of all the candida in my body, etc. Right. And and even just thinking about it just kind of made me think, oh no, like where else in my life do I need to just like reassess and get rid of, slowly get rid of things. And it really is a process. And I think in order to commit to detoxification, it really is as well kind of like a journey of, number one, self-discipline. And I think number two, being more loving and compassionate to yourself, because a lot of things come up. Like I do the life coaching at Central Holistic, right?
Awesome.
And a lot of, and some of the conversations I have is because they've gone on an elimination diet and things are coming up for them.
Yes. So that's such a good point that you brought up. And actually, for those who are interested in doing detox, of course, first we do fix the gut. So you mentioned, Kathy, the elimination diet. That's very important because that already removes a lot of the toxins. Because again, we're looking at toxic load. We're trying to see what are the ways that we can lessen the toxins that are already coming into our body. And so we start with that, but then we will transition a patient into a detoxification, protocol. But even going through that process, you require a lot of discipline, like you said. You require a lot of accountability or like follow-up. So I just want to put a shout out for you, Kathy, like for patients who are interested. It's really good to also have, let's say, a health coach on board, because us as doctors, we will guide you in terms of what the direction is, but we can't do the follow-ups like, so close, let's say weekly, or because we have other patients, we have other things going on. So that's more of the health coach's responsibility. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's important. The other thing too is sometimes a person just needs like somebody to talk to share what's going on in their mind and in their heart and their feelings, because feelings will affect your thinking, will affect your feelings will affect what you do. And a lot of times when we have the wrong thinking, we feel bad, we do the wrong things, we actually make ourselves more toxic. Our decision making is actually negatively affected by our thinking. And so all of that goes into the holistic perspective of detox as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important that you have somebody that that can come alongside actually and just kind of help you
join
through
you
the
in
process.
the journey. Yeah,
And
for
it's
sure.
not going to be easy, because so much of our lives, we're so much what do you call this? We're so used to doing things a certain way, and they're called habits, right? And it's so much harder to break bad habits because we're used to them, and that's the easy path for our mind. So if you are trying to now develop new habits, you really have to make the old bad habits like so hard to do. For example, let's say just a simple thing like detoxing your environment, right? So sometimes we tell patients you can do a pantry raid. You look at your food, you look at all the things that say the all your canned goods that have different toxins in them. I won't even go into that, but like EPA, etc. You look at all the junk, let's say sweets and all that. If it's there, more than likely you're going to eat it. But if you throw it away and you put a bowl of apples in front of you, when you're hungry, you're going to go for those apples instead of the bad sugary junk, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. You really set up yourself to win.
Yes,
so like
yes,
you have no choice. It really is just the fruit in the pantry. So that's all you get.
Yeah, it's like that's it. Like I did that to my kids too. I was like, okay, we're gonna go on a healthy diet. So I threw away the junk when they were just like not in seeing the pantry. I threw it all away, and then when they were gonna have a snack, I just offered fruit, and that's all they wanted because that's all what there was, So they ate it. I was like, you had no choice.
Yeah.
So this is really important for the moms and ones with kids. I just want to add this, especially because toxins affect the development of your children, especially in the womb and when they're going through puberty. And this is a whole another hour you can talk about this, but we don't realize the effect of these toxins as they as a child goes through puberty and he or she is developing. If their toxic load is high, when you're breastfeeding, you think, oh, well, it's not going to really affect my baby that much. No, it does, because it goes through your breast milk, it goes through the nutrients are passed on. So.
Oh, wow. And I think also like from a health coach point of view, a lot of the struggle that I would get, for example, somebody who's on an elimination diet has a really tough time letting go of sugar. A lot of it is because growing up as well, like they were trained to connect sugar or fast food to a good memory. So like, for example, like, a lot of millennials grew up, okay, every Sunday after mass, the parents treat us to McDonald's. So, we kind of associate now McDonald's to, oh, okay, so I go to McDonald's every time I did something good or as a treat. So now that we've grown up, every time that we feel that we've done a good job or like the pay comes in, etc., we automatically think of, oh, I want to go to McDonald's, and letting go of that connection. It's more the connection than really the attachment to whatever the food is. It's because, like for me, like I love chocolate. It's because me and my dad would like share a bar of chocolate growing up. So for me, like that's a connection to the memory of my father that I just struggle to let go of. But I think also understanding your eating habits that way helps you to also kind of detach from it faster and then pick up better habits of, okay, this used to be my idea of I love myself. Now I'm going to choose like eating apples and eating the rainbow as my idea of, oh, I love myself. I need to invest in this instead
Yes.
of that.
And also realizing that what you do now will definitely, I mean, it's so hard for us because we are creatures of gratification, right? We like the quick,
Instant, yeah.
like instant. I eat it now. It feels good. It's wonderful. And I'm not saying like you just like completely throw everything out, but you know, when you think of it in this perspective, like what I do now will affect my future in the future. And if I stay on this course, you know, all of us, like I tell people, we all have goals, right? We all have goals. We want to be healthy. We want to be able to see our kids grow up. We want to have a good, bright future. But we have to ask ourselves, what direction am I facing? Am I facing the direction of the goals that I have, or am I facing the opposite direction? Because if I want to go to Baguio, but I'm driving to Batangas, there's no way I'm getting to Baguio. You know, I mean, it's like, it's ludicrous. But in the same way with health, we have to ask ourselves, what are the systems that I've placed in my life to help me be able to go in that direction towards better health? Because a lot of times we actually don't pick up on that. Like our system is, we'll sleep late at night because we're watching Netflix. We wake up so tired the next day. We have to drink a cup of coffee to perk us up. We eat a pastry with it because it's yummy, and it throws us off. And a year later, we're like, why did I gain 10 pounds? It's because your system was completely off, you know, or our systems were off. So this was something I learned not by myself. I actually read about it. I was watching some videos about habits, and I realized, wow, that's so powerful. Because a lot of times we say, okay, my goal is to be healthy, but we don't have the steps underneath or the right systems in place to get there. It's the same way for detoxification. You want to detox your body, but you have to have the right plan, the right protocol, and it has to be holistic. You can't just take one part and say, okay, I'm just going to detox my food, but everything else is still toxic. You're still going to be toxic. So
yeah. So if for anybody who intends to really detoxify, it really is your entire life. It isn't just one aspect. It just isn't your body. Doc Sasa has a good question. How frequently can you do detox?
That's a good question. It's as frequent as your body would actually need. Okay, if you're already starting to feel like one of the things we look at when we're detoxing a patient is something, I'm sure, Kathy, you've done this, is the medical symptom questionnaire. A medical symptom questionnaire runs you through a list of symptoms that your body has, whether it's things in your mind, you know, difficulty thinking or memory issues, or you have like gut issues of bloatedness, painful, gassy. So when those levels are high, there's a rating scale. We will also know, okay, this person is quite toxic. They need to go through detox. But as you fix your lifestyle and as you fix your you know, all of the modifiable lifestyle factors, you'll notice that over time, those numbers should actually go down. Some patients might be like, it's the same, doc, but when they fill up the form objectively, it actually goes down. And so you realize, hey, it is working. If it's still toxic, you can continue. But the goal, though, is not just to do the detox program as like, okay, I'm going to detox now, and then I'm going to go back to what I'm doing. Your goal is eventually you want to just continue to support your body's, you're detoxing all the time. And like I said, you want to continue to support your body's functions in detoxifying so that you start to make the right choices so that your body will actually just be overall healthier rather than not healthy. So let's say you do a detox now, like a strict detox. We're talking, because I guess I have to differentiate between like the strict detox and your just daily functioning detoxification. You're always detoxing, but so I wouldn't put a number to it per se, but because honestly, I don't think there is like you can just say, okay, you do a detox 4 times a year. It depends on the person. So yeah, we'd have to assess that.
So let's say if like, you know, if I, let's say, live a very stressful life, I live at the office practically, I live off of Starbucks and McDonald's, then I would probably need to detox a lot more than somebody who is at home relatively, you know, can manage their day-to-day stress, is very mindful of the food they eat, that they probably wouldn't have to detox as much.
I would say, for example, because with, let's say, things like the elimination diet, we cannot live on the elimination diet, right? We do it for a period of time, and then we add in other food plans.
Yeah.
If you're going to do elimination diet, maybe you do it at least once or twice in a year just to reset the system. And then after that, you can put in your detox food plan or a renew food plan, which will help you to stay on healthier foods. That's on the food aspect. But nutrients wise, we still want to keep supporting ourselves nutritionally with even things like essential fatty acids, etc. And then again, like we were saying, your work stress, your relationships, those need to be managed just the same. So you can't just say, okay, I'm going to detox my work, I'm going to quit work now, right? I mean, you still have to work. So you can't quit from work. But
yeah. So it really is kind of managing and finding that balance. And it really is different, no, from person to person.
Yeah. And I like what one speaker I heard said. He said, we live in a world of tensions. We're always managing tensions. We can't actually live without stress. It would be harmful for us. But we have to know how to manage those tensions. And that goes with a lot of maturity too. So it's growing, it's character building. I mean, this is going already into not just the physical, like emotional, mental, spiritual. That's so important as well. And I can't overemphasize, like if a person, even with detox, okay, I have to just say this because I tell this to my patients. If you have issues with forgiveness, you're mad at somebody and you're bitter and you're angry and you're just really upset, you will not be able to be a whole, healthy, whole person without dealing with that. And a lot of times it's just so hard without another source. So for me, I'm like, God, I can't do this on my own, I need you, Lord. So that, but
I remember, like, I talked to I think she's an integrative nutritionist, and she was like, if you're having liver issues, it is connected to a lot of anger problems.
Yes.
So releasing the anger will actually help your liver heal faster. And that for me was like a huge aha moment for me. I was like, wow. Like it really is, like we only think about our bodies as separate, right? From like our minds and our spirit, but no, they really are all connected.
So connected. There was even a study done. Oh, this is so interesting, on positivity, like on optimism and health versus pessimism. They followed, I think, over a couple thousand college students over 40 years. And among those who died, they had done a survey previously to see who was positive, who was a pessimist, and they went on with their lives. And among those who died, there was a 42% or something like that. Yeah, 42% increase in mortality rate among the pessimists. Isn't that huge? Yeah. So like our mind, our way of thinking, how we view life, is really so important in our overall health. I mean, it blew me away because again, I was looking for the information as I was preparing this talk, and I was thinking, wow, like even our mindset, our whether we're positive or negative, it can be so powerful for health.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
that is crazy. But yeah, I think that bodes well for us those of us who are really working on being a lot more positive and being a lot more grateful. I guess it's a good sign, like we're headed in the right direction, at least in terms of longevity.
Yeah, totally. And we even talk about gratefulness in our, we talk to patients telling them it's really important to be thankful. Just even thinking at night, what are the things I'm thankful for?
Yes.
I even think about, what are the things that, because a lot of times we focus on, if you see a white paper and there's a black dot, we focus on the black dot. And we're like, why is there a black dot? It's terrible. It's making everything horrible. But you don't realize there's this huge canvas of beauty, around it. And all we can see is the black dot. So just being thankful, being grateful, and is really powerful too.
And it really is a retraining of our brain just to be a lot, just to focus on the good instead of, like really focusing on like what's going wrong in your life, instead just being grateful of what's happening. And I think it really does affect one's health. We're a lot more resilient as well, I think, in terms of getting better and getting to a better state of health. So Doc, before I let you go, I have one last question. Sure. And that is, for those that are interested in going through a detox because they think they need it, what services would you kind of recommend at Centro Holistico, and how can they find you?
Definitely. So our clinic, Centro Holistico, we do integrative medicine. So if you want to go through a detox protocol, or let's say even just clean up your gut first, because we always do that before we detox, you can find me personally. I'm there on Mondays. I do one day right now. I used to do Thursdays in Alabang, but I'm only doing the Grove right now because I have 4 children and my youngest is 3 months old. So I just gave birth, and but I'm there on Mondays, and you can get set with it with the with the nurses. And then in Centro, we have several options for detoxification. Aside from the whole lifestyle plan, we also offer things like the colon cleanse, IV drips, acupuncture, as we mentioned earlier. We even have a foot bath, which helps to leach some of the, not all the toxins, but some toxins from your body out through this like betadine clay. So we do, yeah, it's nice. It's like a foot soak, and it uses a clay to kind of pull the heavy metals or whatnot out of the body. But again, you want it to be holistic in the approach. So
yeah. And we also have Ventosa, and I think, was it lymphatic brushing?
We have something called Ventosta, which is also cupping, so that helps to kind of release a lot of the toxins as well. And then lymphatic drainage, you can do that in our clinic, and you can also do it at home. So it's basically, you have a hard, it's almost like a brush. I always think of it as a brush that you use for cleaning, but it's not. It's a brush for the body. It's tough bristles, and then you scrub the lymphatic system so that it helps to move the toxins through the lymph system and out through the body. Yeah, and of course, just doing all the other things like exercise, so important.
For sure. So and getting sun, like what you're doing now.
Like what I'm doing now, getting the sun. Yes. Yeah. And it also reminds me, just also being with your family, your loved ones, and people that are going to help you to be positive and grow versus pull you down. So.
For sure. So so that's it for our weekend wellness episode for this Sunday. I hope that Dr. Carolyn has helped demystify the word detox, especially when it comes to wellness. I mean, I had a lot of huge aha moments myself. I never realized just how holistic a detox is, but it does make sense. You can't just detox in one area of your life and then just leave the other areas of your life toxic. So if you guys are interested to book an appointment with Dr. Carolyn, please send us a message, or send the Grove a message tomorrow on Monday when they're open. And we will see you again next Sunday. But
thanks so much. I just want to end with one last thought. It's really true. I just was thinking of this earlier. There's this verse in the Bible that says a cheerful heart is good medicine. And I was like, it's totally true.
So true.
Because and just what we think affects how we feel and all these things. So I hope for all of you out there, you will really be able to gain holistic health and move in the direction of optimal health by evaluating these different aspects of your life, and maybe coming along and getting some guidance in that too. So God bless you all. Thanks so much, Kathy.
Thanks, Doc. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.